I should have expected as much. Uxie, the being of knowledge, Azelf, the being of willpower, and Mesprit, the being of emotion. I see now. Knowledge, emotion, and willpower. All immaterial concepts embodied by the Legendary Lake Guardians Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Created by Arceus and bird from the same egg, together they wield the ability to calm either the embodiment of time or space. Despite their morphologically similar appearance with their 2 tails and 3 red gems, each has a separate design flush with unique and related inspirations. Beginning with the cute little Uxie, the avatar of knowledge is predominantly yellow in appearance, joining its siblings in reference to the primary subtractive colors of yellow, magenta, and cyan, with Mesprit representing magenta and Azelf cyan respectively. Uxie's head bears a vague resemblance to the human brain, and according to legend, it's said that peering into its eyes wipes the viewer's memory. Look not into the Pokemon's eyes, in but an instant you'll have no recollection of who you are. Return home, but how? When there is nothing to remember. This spooky story provides insight into Uxie's particular effects on the human brain. Deep within the temporal lobe lies the limbic system, home to 2 particular brain structures largely responsible for long-term memory formation and emotional responses to stimuli, the hippocampus and amygdala respectively. Uxie's memory erasing capability and the recipient's inability to navigate home implies damage to the hippocampus. Like most structures, the hippocampus's role is complex, but boiled down, it's particularly vital in the formation of new episodic memories and spatial navigation using cognitive maps. It can be implied that Uxie induces severe retrograde amnesia affecting the entire brain due to the loss of self and past memories. Despite the hippocampus's role in long-term explicit memory formation, it isn't the permanent storage place for those memories. Instead, it's been proposed that long-term memories are stored throughout the cerebral cortex. In a famous case demonstrating this observation, a man named Henry Mallison received a temporal lobotomy to cure his epilepsy. The surgery removed 2/3 of his hippocampus and various other brain structures, resulting in an inability to form new episodic memories known as anterograde amnesia. In addition, he failed to recall events immediately before surgery, suggesting that certain long-term memories had yet to be relocated from the hippocampus. Aside from memory, Uxie is known as the Knowledge Pokemon. The Pokedex infers that Uxie gifted humans the intelligence to improve themselves, particularly the capability of solving problems. This information can be connected to one of 2 different forms of intelligence theorized by Raymond Cattell, fluid and crystallized. Uxie granted fluid intelligence, briefly described as the ability to think logically and solve problems, pinpoint patterns, and learn new skills without prior education. The other side of the coin is crystallized intelligence, which is accumulated information like facts, statistics, and trivia. Bringer of emotion, Mesprit is often regarded as the de facto leader and most famous lake guardian in similar fashion to Suicune. Rather fitting as Mesprit, to a degree, references the amygdala. As mentioned before, the amygdala is located in the limbic system and is primarily associated with emotional responses, but may also have a role in emotional memories via fear conditioning and unconscious decision making. The amygdala is well known for its role in negative emotional processes, particularly fear. The structure is assumed to react to life-threatening situations by sending a signal to the hypothalamus, which activates the sympathetic nervous system, triggering the fight or flight response. In addition, the amygdala serves a role in fear conditioning, a type of classical conditioning where a neutral stimulus is paired with a negative stimulus. After conditioning, when the neutral stimulus is presented, the conditioned subject would react with a conditioned response of fear. Aside from negative responses, recent evidence suggests that the amygdala acts as a regulator of emotional importance for both positive and negative stimuli. Dare not touch the Pokemon's body. In but 3 short days, all emotions will drain away. This myth implies that Mesprit imparts a feeling of apathy upon whoever touches it, a normal response to stress and other disappointments. Apathy is the lack of emotion or concern about various aspects of life, including physical, social, and more. This mental state is common in those suffering from depression and anxiety, especially when the condition leads to a lack of interest in regular activities that once brought happiness. Apathy also has religious associations with both Christianity and Buddhism under the banner of sloth. As one of the 7 deadly sins in Christianity and 5 hindrances in Buddhism, sloth is defined in Orthodox Christianity as the lack of interest in life. Catholicism describes it as the sluggishness of the mind, neglect of the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, and repellment of spiritual grace. Buddhism considers sloth the lack of drive, dullness of the mind, and reduction of energy towards reality. Despite the horrific myth clearly outlining the negative effects of coming into physical contact with the Lake Guardians, all 3 have the highest base friendship of any legendary Pokemon at 140, tying them with Clefable, Blissey, and Lopunny. Nonetheless, each reacts appropriately to mitigate the effects highlighted in the myth. Uxie closes its eyes, Mesprit runs away, and Azelf purposely acts cautious around both people and Pokemon. Speaking of which, Will Incarnate. Azelf is my personal favorite of the 3 Guardians. In appearance, this cyan Pokemon contrasts its sibling Mesprit with sturdy protrusions on its head, overall shaped like a comb. Azelf represents willpower, specifically volition, or the act of making a conscious choice, like voluntarily subscribing to Derek Triforce. Like its siblings, Azelf is capable of leaving its physical body and returning at will, but unlike Uxie and Mesprit, Azelf possesses the ability to enter the bodies of others to hide or take control of another's will entirely. With volition in mind, Azelf can be associated with the frontal lobe, which along with other systems serves a variety of functions. The frontal lobe is principally known for its association with language, personality, voluntary muscle movement, impulse control, judgment, and more. Keeping voluntary muscle movement in mind, we look back at the horrific myth, which suggests that harming Azelf leaves the assailant immobile in less than a week's time. Above all, harm not the Pokemon. In a scant 5 days, the offender will grow immobile in entirety. The acute form of paralysis presented in this myth corresponds closely with locked-in syndrome, a neurological disorder where the afflicted loses partial or all voluntary movement aside from limited control of the eye and blinking. This syndrome isn't the result of damage to the frontal lobe, rather injury to the pons or bridge of the brainstem. The cognitive abilities of those stricken with this disorder usually remain unaffected, and the total version leaves sufferers completely immobile, including their eye movement. However, proper support for those with locked-in syndrome can still provide them with the capability of having a worthwhile life. Azelf can also be associated with the concept of free will, which is tied to decision making. We make our decisions based on a variety of factors, including our memory, cultural or personal biases, and emotions. Sometimes decisions can be difficult to make, and Azelf is said to have gifted determination when it flew, allowing humans the ability to overcome any of life's difficulties. I can sense in you a strong desire to protect something. You have a powerful spirit. That must mean this isn't the world I desire. I use the power of the Pokemon that control time and space to create a perfect world where the human spirit does not exist. Cyrus wanted a world without the trinity of consciousness, devoid of mind, body, and spirit. The Trinity is also known to represent the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, as well as thought, emotion, and action. The Trinity is Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf, and together they produce the Self, Spirit. The Ruined Manic Files has an excellent video that discusses the Trinity and so much more. I can't recommend it enough. If you're interested, check the description for a link. Alongside the Trinity, the Lake Guardians each take some inspiration from the Imperial Regalia of Japan. These sacred treasures, according to legend, were passed down from the sun goddess Amaterasu to her grandson. He in turn passed the treasures down to his great-grandson, Jimmu, the first emperor of Japan. Accordingly, Uxie represents the sacred mirror of wisdom, Yata no Kagami, Mesprit the jewel of benevolence, Yakasani no Magatama, and Azelf the sword of valor, the Kusanagi. Various legends state that the Kusanagi was found in one of Yamato no Orochi's 8 tails after the dragon was defeated by Susanoo, Amaterasu's brother. He gifted the blade to Amaterasu as an apology gift for his destructive acts that drove Amaterasu into hiding. The Yasakani no Magatama was presented to Amaterasu by her father, Izanagi, one of the 2 central kami in Japan's creation myth. The jewel is believed to house the power and soul of its original possessor. By presenting it to Amaterasu, she gained Izanagi's power and authority to rule. Lastly, the sacred mirror Yata no Kagami was used to lure Amaterasu out of hiding. Mentioned earlier, she fled to the cave Amano no Iwato due to Susanoo's actions, thereby taking her light from the world. The other kami convened to lure her out, and one simplified version of the story involves placing the Yatano Kagami outside of the cave and causing an uproar outside. Curious, Amaterasu peeks outside to see her own strength and grace reflected within the mirror. She was stunned long enough to be guided outside further and the cave sealed up. Putting legends aside, both the Japanese and English names for the Lake Guardians are quite interesting. In English, all three feature personal pronouns combined with magical creatures. Uxie is you merged with pixie, Mesprit is me mixed with sprite, and Azelf is us linked with elf. Depending on the tale, all three supernatural creatures are known to be particularly tiny in stature, just like the Lake Guardians. Describing pixies, sprites, and elves is a difficult task, as their description seems to change depending on the time period, culture, and geographical region they originate from. However, pixies are usually pictured as small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Occasionally they are presented as taller, but not by much. They are often considered very friendly in nature, but sometimes mischievous with their magical abilities. Sprites are a very broad category, regularly depicted as ethereal entities with classic fairy-like characteristics. Sprites are known to be associated with elements like water and aren't necessarily physical in nature. Elves are fairly well known as being depicted as human-like in stature and size with pointed ears. Although during the Elizabethan era, elves were defined as small, occasionally winged creatures that enjoyed being mischievous. You may have noticed that Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf don't really share many characteristics with any of the aforementioned supernatural entities or animals. Well, funnily enough, in Japan, they are occasionally known as the Uma Trio, or Unidentified Mysterious Animal, which is, coincidentally, the italicism of the English names for Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Speaking of Japan, the Japanese names for Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf are Uxie, which is Uxie with an added Y, Emmerich, and Aganome. Although I may have butchered those pronunciations, Uxie is a combination of Yakasaki and Shinsuke, future and knowledge respectfully. Emmerich could be emotion, or emu, to smile, combined with sprite. Lastly, Aganome is agnosticism, a philosophical belief that God or the supernatural is unknowable, conjoined with gnome, another humanoid creature whose garden variety shares a similarly shaped comb head to Azelf. Honestly, I really like the Lake Guardians aesthetically and lore-wise. Their role in Pokemon's mythos is so intriguing, just like their trivia. Within each Guardian's respective lake cavern is a water pattern on the floor. Each Guardian occupies its respective location compared to the other lakes. Uxie is up top, Mesprit is to the left, and Azelf to the right. In Black and White 2, the trio can be encountered in the overworld after visiting the Cave of Being. They flee to locations respective to their role as either the Pokemon of Knowledge, Emotion, or Willpower. Azelf is found on Route 23, a route that requires strength to navigate fully and connects to Victory Road. Uxie appears in Nakreen Museum, and Mesprit at the Celestial Tower, a place of mourning. Hey, thanks for watching the video! The last bit was a bit short as I sprinkled trivia throughout the video, leaving little for the actual trivia section. There was a lot to talk about in regards to the Lake Trio, and I hope that I was able to find accurate information about several of the complex topics touched on. If you're interested yourself, I encourage you to dig further. While making this video, I considered the idea of creating an episode for Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and Arceus, although I'm not certain if they will be the next several PokeProfiles or spaced out. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter or join my Discord, check the links in the description. Consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification to avoid missing uploads, and like always, I'll catch you in the next one.